had an interesting week being back here. I spent yesterday with my granddaughter. Who, as best as I can tell, lives in what I would call a state of constant delight. She has her moments, you know, are not as delightful, but every moment is discovery. Every moment is amazement. Every moment is completely, absolutely engaged. Watching her pick one pea up at a time. You know, every minute is alive with her. And nobody on the planet communicates with me more than she does. Or I don't feel more connected, in a way, to anybody more. I shouldn't gradate it that way, but it's so easy. It's so easy to be with her. It's so easy to be in the presence of presence. Someone who is in love with life, with being. And my guess is most of us were there once. And part of this week was spent with people whose lives are not working. And who are hitting one obstacle after another after another. And whenever I sit with anybody, what happens to me after years and years of spiritual practice is I kind of fall in love with them. I don't care who it is. I sit with you and I feel in you, if you will, the baby, this pure, infinite, loving entity. And then I see how much of you has forgotten that or lives without that wisdom and knowledge. And so I see all the pain that has accrued over the course of a lifetime. And we all have different degrees of it. I was talking in the introductory class today about an image that worked for me very well. It's like trainload after trainload after trainload after trainload of crap that we hook onto our train as we go through life. And what I sensed spiritual work leads to is the uncoupling of the engine from all that shit. You just go, and the train just keeps sailing along, and all that stuff just absolutely falls away. You're not carrying it anymore. And that engine that keeps moving forward is like that little baby. Just, it feels so free, so joyous, so wonderful to be freed of that stuff. But what you experience, or what I experience mostly in life, is people like in Scrooge and Marley in A Christmas Carol. Scrooge sees his old partner Marley, who walks around carrying these chains, walks through life in this state of suffering, and carrying, he's not in life anymore, he's dead, but he's carrying all this stuff from his past lives, and he can't be free of it. And in one of the films I saw at some point, they depicted this guy covered in chains, but none of them were manacled to him. He was carrying them. He He wasn't chained, he was holding on. And the description is so fitting to almost all of us. How we carry the burden of our lives as a kind of badge of honor. This is who I am. I'm this warped, suffering entity carrying all this crap that I have been given over my life, and look how amazing I am that I can withstand this horrible suffering. Good. If that's your pleasure, good. Why should anybody try to change it? But if you come here, if you come to a spiritual practice and you say, please help me to get rid of these chains, there's some implied idea that you want to get rid of them. Now, I got to say, a lot of people come here telling me they want to get rid of their chains, but I don't see any sense of it. The same chains they've been carrying for 30 years are carrying today. You want to get rid of your chains, get rid of your chains. If you want to walk around with them, walk around with them. It doesn't matter. It's your choice, your pleasure. But it's possible to rid yourself of that stuff. Rudy had a practice that he called work. And work was really important. Work was surrendering, letting go, dropping off, removing yourself from the bondage of your life, the constrictures of your life. One of the great forms of bondage in our lives is how much we love our bondage. One of the great forms of bondage is how can I let go of my bondage when I haven't had the full experience of my bondage, or I haven't had my full life. So many people's entrapment in life is that they haven't gotten what they wanted. They haven't gotten what they deserved. They're suffering because of absence, not of what they have. My life would be perfect if I only had $10 more, $10 million more. If I only had a girlfriend, if I only had a boyfriend, if I only had this or that, then I would be fine. And so the pain of so many people's lives is they're holding on to so much of what they have, and they're holding on to so much of what they don't have. And that causes enormous suffering. And so you try to go, how, as a spiritual teacher, can you help people release themselves from this self-imposed bondage? How is it that I could possibly say something to you that would make you see the world the way my granddaughter sees it, with delight? How can you possibly see the beauty that you are in absence and in bondage? How can you see it? Because we're all such a puzzle to one another and to ourselves. And we can't figure out the equation. We can't figure out how to solve the problem, how to solve our puzzle. It may help to say something like, it's not solvable. There is no solution to the puzzle. there is no solution. It may even help to say, there's no puzzle. But it wouldn't register because most of you feel the puzzle. You feel, how can I work this out? What's the solution? If I get this and I get that, then it will be worked out. One of the things that's most extraordinary about people who are really successful is that they discover that success did not solve the problem. One of the worst things about success is discovering that with all that time and effort getting there, thinking it would be the answer, is that it wasn't the answer, and the problem is still you. You're still it. Nothing external solved it. Sitting in a monastery for 50 years and still finding at the end that you're unhappy. Happens to people. Didn't solve the problem. How do I solve the problem that is me? Well, I can tell you, and this doesn't solve it necessarily, but it would if it could get through to the system, there is no problem. There's only the idea of a problem. You carry around this idea that you are suffering, that you have this lack or this excess or this particular configuration, and you do endless battle with it. We all do. And we get caught in that. And then this voice says, I want release from that. I want peace. I want something to free me of this problem. And then you begin this spiritual pursuit, this effort to undo the thing that isn't there. And then you become very identified with that person who is trying to undo something. I am this spiritual being. I am this person who wants to be free, or ultimately who claims to be free. Which is all wonderful. Claiming to be free is wonderful. But what is freedom? What is freedom? For most people, not all, most people, freedom is a new identity. I am a free person. I'm a yogi. I'm spiritual. I am whatever, awakened. And the minute you own that, you're still back in the core element of what causes problem, which is the sense that I am something, that I am somehow bound by some identity or form or idea of self. The closest I've come to realization is that I am, period. Period. It's the only truth I know. I am. I can't tell you anything else for certain. But I know that. And I have, it appears, a life and a name and a personality and friends and family and all of these things, and they're all there. And they're all there in different constructs. And they create sensations of happiness and sadness, love and loss, all of these complexes of things going on. And we live in that. We live in that. And we live in it moment to moment to moment. The closest I've come to being free of all of that is when I'm so truly in this moment that I absolutely forget or pay no attention to anything that led up to this moment, or anything that might come after it, where I really, really just let go. And that means that in that moment I am just here, right here, nowhere else. I am here. The implication is that all of you who are here with me have shared history, that we all have this wonderful sort of sense of continuity. But the truth is, we're just here in this configuration together. And for me, the truth is that I love you. Now, some of you may be sitting here saying, I don't like you. Or why don't you shut up already? Or what are you talking about? Or why did I bother coming? That is already distancing you from this moment. How do you arrive at this moment? How do you arrive at this moment? Well, I'll tell you briefly, my journey to this moment was working with my life, with the circumstances of my life, trying to make my life work. In order to arrive at this moment, I had to get things in alignment. I had to get a life that was functioning. And I didn't have a clue how to do that until I met Rudy. And Rudy's whole goal was basically to teach me you can't let go of what you haven't had. So make your life work. Get your life to work. Get your act together. That was Rudy's teaching to me, really. And he gave me enough love and enough energy and enough direction to trust this process. But what that process brings up, as you all know, is circumstances that you don't like, that you don't trust, that you don't believe in, that you second guess. Should I take that job? Should I not take that job? Should I move here? Should I not move here? Should I move in with this person? Should I not move in with that person? All of these questions start to come up and you don't know what to do. And the mind starts to get in there and create a huge mess for you in your life. Rudy said the mind was the slayer of the soul, because something in you has a innate knowing of what to do. And if you sit quietly in meditation and you ask inside for help to surrender, you will feel where you need to go. You will feel the line of your life, and it will lead you forward. And you will think, in truth, it's leading you towards something. I will argue that it's only leading you to this moment. But in life, it leads you toward resolution, completion, wholeness, solution. It gives you that feeling that it's leading you towards something. And as it does do that, things happen. Your life lines up, and you discover these remarkable things. One of them is how much the universe wants to give you. How much it wants to give you what you want. And how much you are in the way of getting that. And how much your fear and limitation and hesitation and judgment and mind counteract the simplicity of what the universe is giving you. It puts what you need in front of you all the time and you reject it. Not pretty enough, not handsome enough, not enough money, too much demand, too much work. All of these things come at you and you go, no, not that way, I want it this way. Well, not that the universe won't try to give it to you this way, but it is hard to manipulate time and space. That's all I can tell you. The universe moves time and space to give you what you want, or more importantly, what you need, but even what you want. But you have to be a participant in that and really, one, want it, and two, really work for it and really get out of your way to get it. One of the key factors in getting out of your way is risking. Taking the uncomfortable, risky choice. I look at my own life and I kind of realize that the reason so much has worked out for me professionally and personally and emotionally and in so many ways is that I took these leaps of faith. Leaps of faith is where you let go of everything comfortable, everything that you believe in or want, and you just jump. You just go for the next thing. This has happened in so many circumstances for me, and every one of them has proven to be really significant. I left an amazingly good job as a kid at NBC and said, I'm going to India, or I'm going on this spiritual search. People thought I was crazy. What do you mean? What do you mean you're going to give up a job, 9 to 5 with real money? I said, yes, I'm giving it all up. And the day I was leaving, the entire news department at NBC News took me out to lunch. Everybody went out to this huge lunch. There must have been 35 people, and they were there celebrating the one kid who was leaving it. You all know the stories. You know, when I was in Hollywood with one of the films that I had opening, the first film I ever had, and I was with a friend, a filmmaker, Brian De Palma, who's been an interestingly important point at many places in my life, an important person. And he said to Blanche and I, he said, if you really want a career in Hollywood, you have to move here. And I went back to Illinois, and before I knew what happened, Blanche put our house on the market and told her head of her department at Northern Illinois University, she said, I'm leaving. And I was terrified. But my own wife had more courage than I did, but we together jumped from Illinois to Los Angeles with no money and 2 kids. And everything took place. I found myself in the right soil. I was blown off the tree into a whole new part of the country, and I rooted. It never would have happened if we hadn't left. I call it synaptic. Ideas do not go from one nerve to another through touch. They leap. They leap. There's a space. Your own life has these spaces, and we're all frightened to make the leap. But it's only by making these leaps over and over and over that things start to happen. We make stupid choices. When I first got to Hollywood, I was offered a horror film to write. And I thought to myself, I don't want to write horror films. I didn't come to Hollywood to write horror films. And I felt this incredible pride of feeling this. I maintained my integrity by not taking this horror film. And the next morning I was sitting down meditating, and I'm sitting in front of my picture of Rudy in the altar, and I'm just sitting there feeling this enormous pride of choice. And Rudy comes through the environment, through the atmosphere, long dead. He comes through and he goes, schmuck! He said, there's more integrity in feeding your family than in turning down jobs. Get up now, go to the phone, call this producer and say you want that job. 7 o'clock in the morning. But I'd had enough spiritual practice to know 2 things. One, if Rudy comes through the atmosphere, you don't go, did that really happen? Did that not happen? I got up that moment and I walked to the phone and I picked it up and I called Bob Sherman and I said, Bob, I want to do this job. And he said, it's yours. And as I've told many times, that film saved my life and began my career. Finding that still place in yourself, that place of knowing, that place of openness, that place of security, allows you to risk. It allows you to reach out, to take chances, to feel your way through to your life without using your brain to try to make all the decisions. I will tell you this, if this still voice doesn't provide you with the answer you're looking for, it means that your brain will do it for you because the choice doesn't matter. Believe me, if you can't figure out the solution, it doesn't matter. But if you sit really still and a voice comes and says, this, don't argue. Don't argue with that voice. Do what it says. Follow this deep knowing. It leads you where you need to go. And then what will come is a life that works. A life where things happen. You know, I've sat with people who are looking for relationships that aren't happening and feel that it's completely dead for them. But when you talk about all the different kinds of things they can do to find people, to meet people, they haven't tried them. They want this kind of person or that kind of person, or someone who looks like this or someone who looks like that. And the person who comes who looks like this, they go, oh, no, I wouldn't do that. That's the person you were waiting for. That's the one that you were waiting for. But if you keep using the filter of your own mind to build your life, you will find yourself having a life that doesn't work. The life that will build you the life you want knows what to do. It's open, present, and available. And if you have to stay in one place in absolute stillness and not move, then do that. It will lead you. Take the risk of trusting you. Take the risk of reaching for what you deeply want. And you will get it. You may not get it on your terms. It's always interesting in movies. People often don't get what they want the way they think they want it. I always think of Humphrey Bogart, who didn't get Ingrid Bergman at the end of Casablanca, but he got his courage, he got his soul, he got a friend for life. He got what he needed. He got who he was. You don't get it in your terms. You get it the way it's meant to be given, and then you get it. And then when everything is in a kind of alignment, you can finally go, okay. And you enter the moment that you're in. You enter the moment. The one problem with what I'm saying, and trust me, this is a problem, getting what you want or waiting to get what you want, to enter the moment, keeps you from knowing the moment as it's happening. This is really important. Putting your life on track is more important than getting to a destination. Getting on track is what it's about. Taking charge, taking control, letting yourself really open to surrender. So what you're really doing is you're not running the show, you're handing it over to your deepest self. You're aligning all of these wayward forces into an act of surrender. Help me to surrender. You get your life together so it's worth handing over, so that you feel good about surrender. I will use the opposite of what I'm saying to end this. You don't have to spend a lifetime getting your act together. You don't have to make it work. You don't have to have a great life. You can do it without any of that by just stopping right now and allowing this to be. Your choice. Get your life in order, make it work, get what you want, have a great life, surrender? Just stop right now and do it. The problem with that is the idea that you don't think you're ready and you don't deserve, and that this moment isn't the one you were waiting for. You were waiting for a moment that looked like that, or like that, or like that, or like that. And the only moment you got is this one. This is it. This is all you got. And it's enough if you do it. It's enough. All of these moments are going to pass by you, and they're all going to come to one last moment. One last moment. And at that moment, you're either going to go yes or no. The practice is saying yes now. Yes to this moment. Any questions? Oop, question. But I can turn it off. It's Bo's question. Yes?
Is there anything that we can do to recognize when we are surrendering and opening to it, as opposed to rationalizing or trying to direct it?
Yeah, one is in the head and one is not. And once you start to sit, for a long time, and you start to feel, I'm going to use the word again, feel something here. This is not thinking. This is feeling. This is thinking. Here. This is feeling. This is very directive. It's not perfect, because a lot of emotion can cloud that. But it really is, when you get very quiet inside, it's a still point. I describe it almost completely as pure feeling, but it absolutely leads me. I think of it like the star that led the three wise men to Bethlehem. You follow this thing. It's so slow and so simple. And it just knows where to go. And I absolutely know when I feel it, and I know when I'm thinking. And it's this thing that's in every one of us. It's a kind of it's just truth. It's truth. You know it's true. There's nothing that can argue with it. It just feels yes, and you trust it. You just trust it, and you follow it wherever it wants to go. I do it with each one of you. When I'm working with each of you, I feel the way in through this. It's like a little candle moving into the darkness, but it knows where to go. It leads you. It's so. It's so essential. It's so at the core of you. It's the source of knowing. It's the source of delight. It's the source of opening. It's the source of simplicity. It's just there. And I know that over all of my years with Rudy and meditating, it revealed itself. It just revealed itself. And I think it's revealed itself to anybody who's ever sat long enough in meditation. There's this thing that goes, oh yeah, that. And all you can do is listen to it. But if that comes up and then the mind goes, but, then you're in trouble. And you can tell when it goes from this to that. But all these logical reasons of things come up, and you deny this truth for all of these reasons, and that gets you in trouble. It brings you back into the karmic lifestyle where you build difficulties for yourself and have to unravel them. This is the unraveling principle. It just knows what to do. It knows what to do. And what happens in years of meditation is you develop an enormous trust of it. Just enormous. And you follow it. And you try as best you can at every given moment to be back in this place rather than in this place, because this place gets you in trouble all the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. The ideal state, honestly, is when every one of these centers are completely aligned and working at the same time. That's the best version of this. And you are completely present with everything open and available. And then there is no conflict between this and this or this. It's all working together. And that's what Rudy was teaching, how to get all of these centers open so that you become a complete, integrated human being. And then you function in the world as that. And there's no one place predominating and in battle with another part of you. You're just one entity. And it's an extraordinary place to arrive at. It's what we're all working for, you know. But let me put it again. You can't arrive at a place you've always been. All you can do is realize it, that unbelievable perfection of your imperfection, the unbelievable perfection of all of your confusion, of all of your not knowing. The minute you go, oh, it no longer matters. Your dumb, your thick brain, your convoluted heart, your lack of courage, all of that stuff, you suddenly go, oh, I am that. But you go, I am that in a way that liberates you from the whole thing. You go, oh. That's it. You can work through it, or you can just have it happen. But if it doesn't just happen, then you got to work. So most of us have to work. I had to work 40 years. You were there by my side. You know what it takes. It's work. It's work, it's work, it's work, it's work. And with God's grace, which is really kind of what it is, that will go like that at the end of work, or somewhere along the line of the work, or with no work. It happens. But whatever it is, it happens, and there's no conflict between brain and heart and mind and every part of your being.
So is that the same as when we all get these intuitions?
Intuition's a big part of it. Yeah, and learning to really trust that stuff. When you really trust your intuition, you'll be amazed at what a strong muscle it is, how much it knows. And when you begin arguing with your intuition, of course, then you'll mess it up. But the whole of your life can resolve itself in a flash of awakening. I mean, I know that's frustrating to hear, because, well, when and how and why and all of that. It's a terrible thing to throw at people. But it's also part of the continuum. And if you want to know what it's like, just live in the present. Just make an effort to live in the present with absolute simplicity and truth. And that, when awakening occurs, you'll realize, well, that was it. That's what it was. You were already that, which is what people recognize. The great thing of awakening is you're already that. It's no big deal. It's just realizing that you are this. It's an extraordinary thing to realize. And people, the old thing of the two fish swimming and saying, what's this thing they talk about called water? That's what it is. This is it. I have all these friends in upstate New York who are atheists, really atheists, like that you don't even dare bring up the idea of religion and their presence, let alone spirituality. And I look at them all the time and I go, they'll say, what is God? And I go, what are you missing here? What are you missing? What do you think this is? You think this is just just molecules? What's not clear? Well, what's not clear is that we are walking around in the most unbelievable, amazing reality and totally asleep and unaware of it. That's what's amazing. That we don't know this is what it is. It's crazy, so crazy. But that's why the world is crazy. People are killing each other in heaven. What is that about? What is that about? I don't get it. But anyway, this is it. This is it, guys. And it's so unbelievably wonderful and amazing and beautiful and delightful. And it will fill you with wonder if you let it.